Hello, everybody. Welcome to Curiosity Science Show. This is the April episode of 2021, the episode number 19. My name is Felix, and welcome to the Science Show. So, in this episode, we are going to cover the topics across the disciplines, especially on the first part of the curiosity is about what really moved the science in the last month, that is in the month of March. So, this is specially curated a science show that I actually spent a lot of my effort to handpick some of the really interesting science news, and science articles which have been published only in the last month. So the first is all about the new publications, right? And I divided this one into various topics: psychology, behavior, humanities, politics and policies, technology, biodiversity, environmental evolution, medicine and diagnostics. So first is psychology and behavior. So more extroverted people suffered mood declines while introverted people actually saw mood improvements, during the COVID-19 pandemic. That is what the new study says. So if you are introverted, then you would have observed some mood gain, mood improvement during the pandemic. That really surprised me. Next is about the sex. Casual sex among young adults have declined over the last 1 decade, due to the decline in drinking, which is a good news, isn't it? And casual sex being declined, is it good or bad? That is up to you to take it. An increase in computer gaming. So the young adults are more into the computer gaming these days. They become nerd and geeks, you see. And more young adults living with their parents. You see that they're losing the independence. They're still living with their parents. And by the way, it has nothing to do with COVID-19 pandemic. It's pre-lockdown period. See, the data is from 2007 to 2017, this last decade, which the study analyzed it. Study finds that even when the men and women express the same levels of physical pain, both male and female adults more likely to think that women exaggerate the physical pain more than the men do. See, that is a very important study, that people, both the gender, feel that women exaggerate the pain, but actually they are not exaggerating. It's just a perception, you see. So that displays a significant gender bias in the pain estimation. And this could be causing disparities in healthcare treatment, especially in emergency medicine. This study has got wide implications. Soothing the toddler tantrums with screen time can cause behavioral problems later. See, most of the parents do this mistake. When the kids start crying, they soothe the toddlers with giving them a mobile phone with the YouTube in it. I've seen that so many times, but it's not a good practice, because that is going to cause havoc on their emotional well-beings later in their life. That is what this study says. So this has got huge implications on parenting, you see. It might cause behavioral problems when they grow up. Health is declining in Gen X and Gen Y. You see, the Gen X is if you're born between 1960 to 1980, and Gen Y is after that, you see. So till mid 1996, which is Gen Y, is also called millennials. So the health is basically declining in both Gen X and Gen Y. That is really an eye-opener study, you see. So compared to the previous generation, they showed poor physical health, higher levels of unhealthy behavior like alcohol use and smoking, and more depression and anxiety. And well, we don't know what really caused, what is the reason for it. By the way, the causation doesn't, association doesn't mean the causation, isn't it? That is what the statistics is all about. Yeah. Next is about narcissism. There is extreme self-love. So that is, we have covered this topic many times in curiosity, the dark triad of traits. right? So narcissism is driven by insecurity rather than grandiose sense of self. Earlier psychologists believe that is, it's driven by the self-importance, but it's not. It's driven by insecurity. So people who are narcissists are usually insecure people. That's an eye-opener conclusion, isn't it? So narcissists cope with these insecurities by flexing. They flex their mental muscles, which makes others like them less in long run, further aggravating their insecurity. See, that flexing itself is, that is basically playing against themselves. You see, that is what is revealed in the study. So which can lead to vicious cycle of flexing behavior. So they keep on increasing the flexing behavior, then it backfires. See, that is what is happening. People with higher incomes tend to feel prouder, more confident, and less afraid. All these are known, but not necessarily more compassionate or loving. That is what a new study from 162 countries. See, it's a big study with more than 1.6 million participants. I haven't seen a study of this extreme. It's a huge study, 1.6 million participants. So it says, the wealth, of course, we all know that it actually giving more proud and confident and less afraid, but of course, more caring and tolerant society, it might not lead to, right? The wealth might not lead to caring and tolerant. The empathy is really missing, isn't it? Even though you become rich. So men and women actually prefer not to split household and childcare tasks equally. So this is against the gender stereotyping, so yeah, that's very interesting. It's a revealing study too. So it's found that men enjoy tasks to do the outdoor labor and home maintenance, rather than the women. So on the other hand, the women prefer cleaning, food preparation, family school scheduling, and home decorating. So there is definitely a gender, there is basically a gender identities in these tasks. So that is that might not appease the feminist among yourself, but yeah, this is what the study says. So science won't lie, isn't it? So this is about objective truth. So that is what a new paper comes up in picture last month. So decades of research reveals that very little difference between male and female brains. So this has been widely touted that the female brains are smaller than the male brains, but that is incorrect presumption. That is what the latest study says. So once a brain size is accounted for, any difference that remained were too small and rarely consistent from one study to the other. That is what 3 decades old data, 3 decades long data from functional MRI scans and post-mortem brain tissue studies. That is what it says. So in summary, there is no difference, statistically significant difference between the brain size of male and female. So that means that the gray matter remains same. The gray matter means the logic and reasoning, right? But of course, it doesn't mean that the same thoughts or behavior or thinking pattern or memories or personalities. Definitely there are differences between male and female, right? It's not that thinking is same, but yeah, size is same. That is what it says. So the intelligence is same. So a first of its kind of study says that the patients have difficulty in understanding and building trust with surgeons when they cannot see their faces due to the mask. Nowadays, everybody is wearing masks. So of course, masks, severely impact the non-verbal communication, be it in the classroom. If you're like me, a teacher, yeah, of course, the masks do have a lot of implications. It might not be apparent if you are dealing the online education like me, but when the school reopens, of course, we have to wear the mask. So again, the non-verbal communication will be rather much more impacted rather than online classes, I would presume. So as the doctors, so when the surgeons wore clear masks, that is plastic masks, and the patients then rated them significantly higher. That means they said that these doctors showed more empathy, more caring towards us if they are wearing clear masks, you see. And how they well explained, demonstrated empathy and built the trust. So that is what the mask has got implications on the patient's perception about the empathy of the doctors. So new study finds that empathy training intervention in parole officers that led to a 13% drop in the parolees reoffending rates 10 months later. This is about the prison sentence, you see. So it's very interesting study that says that the parole officers, the police officers who are into the prison services, if you train them to show a bit more empathy to the inmates, the prisoners, then these prisoners, when they complete their parole, when they go out of the prison, the jail, and they are less likely to reoffend. That means commit the crime once again. 13%, that is quite significant. You see, that is really interesting. Fathers who are more involved with early infant parenting show reduced depressive symptoms. So if you ever fathered a baby, and you are involved with early infant parenting, then it's higher likely that you will not suffer, depression in your life. That's very interesting studies here. So coming to the daydreaming is very interesting. So we daydream as children, of course. When you were in school, the daydreaming is really, really common among the school kids and toddlers, right? Even in teenage years. But hardly we do as adults, even though it's thought that it may boost the wellness and pain tolerance. You see, the ability to think for pleasure is important, and what this study says that we can get better at it by focusing on thoughts that are both pleasant and meaningful. If we can focus on thoughts which are pleasant and meaningful, so we can get think for pleasure. We can get better at this daydreaming. That is what this new study says. By the way, it's already known, we covered in Curiosity in one of the earlier episodes, that you really don't have to travel, and you will get the same mental benefit of traveling just by planning a trip. For example, if you cannot even afford a trip to fjords of Norway, no problem. You can just plan a trip very nicely that, I'm taking this flight, I'm going to stay in this hotel, and day by day plan, that itself will give you, the benefits, mental health benefits. It's very interesting, isn't it? Fake news can direct your behavior without you realizing it. So this is like a blind, it's bias blind spot. There is a blind spot in your mind that you are unaware of your own cognitive biases, blind spot. So that is exactly how the fake news also works. So you don't know the fake or real, right? So you believe it, you associate your identity with the fake news. So it can directly affect your behavior without you realizing that it's affecting your behavior. Behavior includes voting. So it has got huge ramifications in democratic countries like here in India, So it's a huge threat. Fake news is, of course, a big, big threat to democracy. Coming next is humanities, politics, and policies related stories. Allied philanthropy, mainly self-serving. So self-serving means the philanthropy, like, the charity organization, allied means big corporations doing this charity work, is not really for the charity. It's mainly for branding purposes. That is what this study says. So philanthropy among the elite class in the US and UK does more to create goodwill for the super wealthy. So you see that it's something like a PR effort for these brands than to alleviate social ills for the poor, according to the new meta-analysis. So if you watch, this American TVs, then you might have seen this advertisement by Burger King. So they advertise a huge amount for one advertisement that says about scholarships, Burger King scholarship for 2 girl students. I mean, the girl student scholarship for the higher education. And do you know how much the scholarship? It's just $25,000 US, and they offer only 2 scholarship. What? Just 2 students can benefit, and they might have spent more than $1 million on marketing this scholarship advertisement. You see, it's nothing but a propaganda. It's a gimmick. So 1/3 of Americans who have bachelor's degrees have been living progressively longer. Bachelor's degree holders are living longer. The life expectancy is increasing for the past 30 years, but 2/3 without degrees have been dying younger since 2010, according to the new research by the Princeton economist who first identified deaths of despair. Very interesting. Coming next is technology related stories. Lab grown meat from tissue culture of animals. Well, by the way, it's not new. Lab grown hamburger, is sustainable, using the cells without killing the livestock, and lower land use and water footprint. You see, the water footprint is less, land use is less, every aspect is much lesser. So the Japanese scientists succeeded in culturing chunks of meat using electrical stimulation to cause the muscle cell contraction, the flexing of the muscle cell, you see, to mimic the texture of steak. So beef steak or hamburger, so, it has got a specific texture. To mimic it, the Japanese scientists, they electrically stimulated to get the flexing. Very interesting, isn't it? By the way, I always think about how the vegetarians take this kind of lab-grown meat. Because ethically there is nothing harm in it, right? No animal is being killed by this lab-grown meat. But is it an animal product? Yeah, meat is meat, isn't it? So lab-grown or animal. So how do the real vegans defend or accept or not? This very interesting debate, isn't it? I'm looking forward to reading some thought-provoking essays on these lines. So Singaporean scientists developed a device to communicate with the plants using electrical signals. So as a proof of concept, they attached the Venus flytrap. So Venus flytrap is carnivorous, you see, plant. So to a robotic arm through a smartphone stimulated its leaf to pick up the piece of wire, you see. So that's very interesting, the plant-based robotics. So it's demonstrating the potential for plant-based robotic systems. So plant robot, very interesting, from Nanyang Institute of Technology in Singapore. So 5G as wireless power grid, very interesting. 5G is a communication tool, but how about power grid using the 5G network? So unknowingly, look, this is serendipitous discovery. The architects of the 5G have created a wireless power grid capable of powering the devices, which is, well, it's, don't think that's something like a mobile phone. No, it's extremely small devices, So at ranges far exceeding the capabilities of an existing technology. So it is within 180 meters. See, that is really interesting. Within 180, if it's within 180 meter from the the grid, the devices can get charged, like wireless charging of new Android phones, smartphones, right? So researchers propose a solution using a Rockman lens that could power IoT devices. IoT is Internet of Things, like Alexa-enabled devices. All these devices are IoT, right? So how to power this IoT is really interesting. So 5G can be used as a power grid. Eye-opener. I like that story. Next is that scientists developed wearable microgrid. Oh, wow, that's very interesting. I love this wearable, devices like pacemaker. Of course, that is it's not a gadget, but it's rather an implantable medical device, isn't it? But wearable sensors, something like your blood sugar level, or recently I bought one sensor that just plug onto the onto your what is that, finger. It will tell you the oxygen saturation. I gifted it to my mother. She's suffering from heart failure. So of course, looking at the blood oxygen saturation is really important, right? That is called blood oximeter. So yeah, that is a wearable gadget, you see, and it's non-invasive. So this is very interesting that they developed a wearable microgrid that harvests and stores energy from human body to power the small electronics with 3 parts. Part 1 is sweat-powered biofuel cell. So biofuel works with the sweat. Part 2, motion-powered triboelectric generator. Our own motion, it can power it. Very interesting. And 3 is the part number 3 is energy storing supercapacitor. Like it functions like a small battery. Capacitors. Very interesting. So these parts are flexible, washable, and screen printed onto the clothing. So it's just like you're wearing a cloth, or it's part of your cloth. It can harvest energy. Very interesting. By the way, don't get carried away. The energy is in microvolt. microvolt is nothing, you know. To move your finger, you might need much more energy than the energy that these gadgets can generate. But by the way, right now it is in the proof of concept. So who knows, next year, this time, you know, it might hit the market. So that is the beauty of science, isn't it? So world's first non-invasive wearable device for newborn babies. Very interesting. You don't have to pierce the babies. You can just clip onto the pin of its ear, and you can measure all you know, the biologically pertinent information like blood sugar or you know, the heartbeat, everything. Very interesting. So it can be worn on the forehead that simultaneously measure the blood jaundice, oxygen levels, like just I told you, the oximeter, isn't it? Pulse rate. So neonatal jaundice is a leading cause of death and brain damage in infants in low to middle income countries. So the jaundice, especially among the poor families, you know, the neonatal jaundice is really, really uh, common, which is highly preventable if you're measuring all this, you know, the level, right? So that is why this non-invasive implantable device is very important. Next is biodiversity, environment, and evolution related stories. Pollution from fossil fuel combustion is deadlier than previously thought. The scientists found that the worldwide 8 million premature deaths were linked to the pollution from fossil fuel combustion, with 350,000 in the US alone. So 8 million is a big number of the premature death. Remember, in Curiosity, we covered the story about the air pollution in India, which is causing 150,000 death, you know, infant death. That is 1.5 lakh per year. Every single year, this many babies are being killed, you know, because of air pollution. Right, we really need to curtail the air pollution, right? So we should really look at the political party's mandate. Is there any party that promises that we promise you a better, you know, the air to breathe? So my vote is for that party. I don't have any political affiliations. So whichever party promised me, and whichever party can deliver this promise, so I will vote for that in my next election. Yes. So this is, it's completely preventable death. You see, 8 million. This pollution we really need to, you know, control. So fine particulate pollution has been linked with health problems. So it's not just infant death, but also mental and physical health as well, ramifications, as we will soon see in the new section. Soot, you know, the microparticle, the carbon particles from coal combustion is traveling all the way from Gangetic plains of the North India all the way to, you know what, Arctic. That is what Finnish Environmental Institute has released, that we will come in short time. Forest on caffeine. So coffee waste can boost the forest recovery. After only 2 years, a coffee pulp treated area had 80% canopy cover. So 80% more, you know, compared with 20%, so 60% more. That is what the study says in the control area. So canopy significantly increased with the coffee waste treatment. So it's basically the pulp of the coffee beans, not really ground. So don't mistake, after having coffee every day morning, you know, I put my coffee ground on my you know, my compost tank. So that is, composting is perfectly fine, or home gardening is okay, but that doesn't lead to this increased canopy cover. So coffee ground is different, coffee pulp is different. Coffee pulp is from the farmers, you see. So the canopy in the coffee pulp area was also 4 times taller than the control area. So this is a very good use for the coffee pulp. So study finds that red seaweed dramatically reduces the amount of methane that the cows emit. See, the methane is a very important notorious greenhouse gas, right? So of course the beef production and cattle foraging has been touted as one of the main factor of contributing into the methane, you know, in the atmosphere. So we really need to control the methane production by the cow, right? So there's one way out. So that is what the scientists are looking at. The cows that eat red seaweeds are significantly less likely to, I mean, the methane output is almost 80% less. That's amazing, isn't it? So supplementing the cow diets with small amounts of food, that is red seaweed, would be an effective way to cut down the livestock industry's carbon footprint. Very interesting, and we will come to this red seaweed in a short while. Our own group, my own group here in Central University, have made a significant discovery in the last month. So I'll see that it's also connected with the red seaweed. A new species discovery will come in a short time. Another seaweed related article is a seaweed farming is efficient as low cost strategy for ocean acidification and deoxygenation. Very interesting. So if you farm the seaweed, that contribute in reducing the impact of the ocean acidification, because it takes up the CO2 from the, it removes CO2 from the seawater, and it oxygenate. Very interesting, right? And also benefits the survival of the coral. Definitely ocean acidification has got impact on the coral, because coral reef is nothing but algae and cnidarian association, right? And this zooxanthellae, which is a dinoflagellate, Symbiodinium is the genus name, which is highly highly labile to the pH. So if the pH reduces a little bit, that means ocean became acidic, then zooxanthellae dies. That will lead to the coral bleaching, you see. So yeah, seaweed farming is a very good approach for dealing with the ocean acidification. Very interesting, isn't it? So unlike natural seaweed forests, the seaweed farms are scalable and are not dependent on suitable substrate for the light availability. So if climate crisis continues unabated, then the northern hemisphere summers could cover nearly half of the year by 2100. So within next 80 years, what is going to happen is that half of the year is going to be summer. So here in Punjab, yeah, this is already happening, isn't it? Almost half or more than half of the year is summer here. So winter is all very brief. So winter will become much more briefer, as the years passes by. That is what the repercussion of the global warming. So making them more than twice as long as they were in 1950s. So unlike the counterparts of 1950s, future summers will be more extreme, with heat waves and wildfires more likely. Yeah? Wildfires in Australia and California are coming in news every single year these days, isn't it? Humans evolved to be water-saving ape. That is what the new study suggests, that the humans evolved to run on 30 to 50% less water than our closest primate relative, enabling our hunter-gatherer ancestors to venture further from the water in search of food, especially in dry savanna landscape. That is the reason of this our first wave and second wave of human migration. We could able to go farther and longer because we can survive in less water. So reading about water reminds me to drink more water. Let me have a sip. Very delicious. So new study confirms that deforestation is heavily linked to the pandemic outbreaks. See the spillover events. We covered this topic many times in Curiosity. So the spillover is first wild to human, a transmission of any infectious diseases, you see. So the main reason is deforestation, So and our reliance on substance like palm oil could be making viruses like COVID-19 worse, because palm oil forestation, plantation of palm need a lot of deforestation. So it's better to use some other sustainable sources of the oil rather than industry level palm oil. So yes, so it's all about the consumer choices that we have to make it, right? So the economic benefits of the conserving and or restoring natural sites now outweigh the profit potential of converting them for intensive human use. Very interesting study. I love this study a lot. So yeah, we really need to promote this kind of study. So it says that if you preserve an atmosphere, you preserve a habitat, and whatever the economic impact of preserving a habitat far outweighs completely degrading and converting into intensive land use like factories or industrialization. Many people says that the development means infrastructure, so big highways and bullet trains and factories. No, that is not really the development. You see, we really have to think about the development with respect to UN's Sustainable Developmental Goal. So sustainability is really important. Don't forget that we have only one home, that is the blue planet, isn't it? So this is according to researchers behind the largest ever study comparing the value of protecting the nature at particular locations with that of exploiting it. So protection is better than exploitation. In terms with money as well, it's not just ecological, bequest value for the future generations, but economy also. That's very interesting study. So coming next is medicine and diagnostics related stories. So first is about a story from Japan. So a new drug to regenerate the lost teeth. Very interesting, right? If you ever lose the teeth. In my case, my wisdom tooth got extracted, many years back. It was a troublemaker. So I simply got it extracted in a government hospital here in Bathinda. No problems at all. So scientists from Japan have made a discovery that can make regrowing teeth is possible with a drug. So they found with the studies in mice that suppressing the gene USAG1, so it's a gene suppressor. So by using its antibody can efficiently lead to the tooth growth. See, fantastic. So this has got implications on those unfortunate amongst you who lost the teeth because of disease or accidents. So before going for tooth implantations, dentures, you can explore this option. Very exciting, isn't it? And this topic has been coming again and again in curiosity. One take-home message for the COVID-19 prevention would be vitamin D treatment. Vitamin D levels, high vitamin D levels may protect against COVID-19, especially among the black people. Also includes the South Asian people. So vitamin D protects from you to catch the COVID-19 and also severe instances of COVID-19. So it's a retrospective study, that means going back in time, of the individuals tested for COVID-19. So those who got positive for COVID-19, the study measured its vitamin D level. Then they found that consistently people with lower vitamin D are testing positive. So vitamin D supplementation is very interesting, isn't it? Very important as well, might play a crucial role. So in case you still haven't gotten a jab, that is vaccine, and if you're planning to travel by air or go to, whatever commute by public transportation, then I think it's a sane decision to take some vitamin D supplementation. So vitamin D levels above those traditionally considered sufficient were associated with lower risk of COVID-19. So it's a little bit higher concentration of vitamin D. So if you really want to take a much more natural way to boost your vitamin D, then expose your bare skin to midday sun, not early morning and late in the evening. Earlier guidelines were like that, but now the things have changed. Now it is mostly on midday, because you really need to expose your sun to the UVB radiations for our body to produce, to make the vitamin D, right? Researchers have found that tetrahydrocannabinol, so that is basically THC. THC is the most active and addictive ingredient. You see, it's not really addictive, I would say, but it's the active hallucinogenic substance in marijuana, right? So the psychoactive component of marijuana stays in the breast milk for up to 6 weeks. So it's really important not to get high on weed if you are a pregnant woman, or if you're a breastfeeding mother. So then you should stop smoking the marijuana. So further supporting the recommendation to abstain from marijuana during pregnancy and while a mother is breastfeeding. So because it can stay, THC can stay up to 6 weeks. By the way, THC is not that highly addictive like nicotine or alcohol. Alcohol and nicotine are much more addictive drug. So people don't consider this drinks, whiskey, for example, as a drug. Yeah, it is a drug indeed. So 2-week course of high doses of cannabidiol. So cannabidiol is CBD. CBD is not like the earlier THC. CBD is not a hallucinogenic substance, and CBD is another molecule in marijuana that helps to restore the function of two proteins key to reducing the accumulation of beta amyloid plaque, that is Alzheimer's disease. Yeah. So basically CBD prevents Alzheimer's disease from happening. That's exciting study, that is really interesting, isn't it? So MIT researchers delivered vaccines directly to the lungs, boosting immune response to viral infections or lung cancer. So they did the vaccination for viral infection like common cold and lung cancer. It's very interesting cancer vaccination, and they delivered it by inhaling, you see. So if you look at the history of vaccination, yeah, it all started from variolation, much older time, right? In ancient China, yeah, they used to smell, the flakes of the chicken pox to get it vaccinated. That's really interesting. That predates the Edward Jenner's smallpox vaccination, you see. So yeah, that itself, the vaccination started with inhaling. So now we are going back to inhalable vaccines. Very interesting, isn't it? So 50 new genes for eye color. That is a very big paper that has been published last month. So they identified 50 genes which are associated with, I will not say responsible for, it is associated with eye color. So association, very interesting, And the genetics of the human eye color is much more complex than previously thought, according to the new study published. Very interesting, isn't it? So Japanese researchers have discovered a chemical called sesaminol abundant in the sesame seeds shells, normally thrown out as a waste, has protective effect against Parkinson's disease. So the husk of these seeds are really, it contains this, alcohol, sesaminol. So that has protective effect against this Parkinson's disease. Very interesting, isn't it? So feeding mice diet containing sesaminol for 36 days. So an increase in dopamine levels and motor performance. So dopamine is a pleasure hormone, but it's not just for pleasure, but it has got lots of metabolic effect, you see, even for the heart function, dopamine, right? So yeah, sesame seeds, I'm not really sure the seed that you get in the market do contain sesaminol or not, but if it contains there, then yeah, it got implications on the Parkinson's disease, prognosis. So a new study on the gut-brain axis found that lower levels of loneliness and higher levels of wisdom and compassion were associated with greater diversity of gut microbiome. So, if you are mentally and emotionally well fit, then your gut microbiome, that means microbes living on your intestine, tend to be healthier and more diverse. Very interesting, right? So the relationship between loneliness and microbial diversity was particularly strong in older adults. So the microbiome is distinct from those older adults which face the loneliness and they are not really compassionate. You see, they have a very different kinds of microbiome. So now comes the question, how about fecal transplantation? Will it solve the problems like loneliness? Well, we will have to wait and watch. Science is exciting, curiosity driven, friends. So next story is about head injury. A single head injury could lead to dementia later in life. So this is compared to the participants who never experienced head injury. A single prior head injury was associated with 1.25 times increased risk. A history of 2 or more prior head injuries was associated with over 2 times increased risk. So it's really important not to get head injured even once in your life. So always wear helmet if you are like me, go on a bike. So scientists from Singapore have made an antibacterial gel bandage using discarded husk of tropical fruit durian. Smelly fruit. Here in India we get jackfruit. In down south in my state Kerala, jackfruit is everywhere. And yeah, this is a very interesting sustainable utilization of the jackfruit and durian for this bandage, So successfully tested on the pig skin. By the way, I also got a small cut today, and the bandage which I use is it's a 3M, the tape, right? So this transport tape of the 3M, which is not biodegradable, but yeah, this is a biodegradable tape. You see that the durian, it's skin tape. Yeah, we can do the same thing here in India on jackfruit. Why not? Scientists identify over 140,000 viral species in the human gut. Microbiome traditionally means only bacteria, but yeah, why not virus? Virtually unknown. Even species concept is not really applicable, right, for the viruses. So virus have got Baltimore system of classification, and it's really interesting. Viral species, So half of these viral species in this study are new to science. These are all new species discoveries. Fantastic, right? One paper is revealing such a tremendous amount, almost 70,000 new species of virus, And more than that, these studies are very exhaustive, spanning 28 countries in 6 continents, except Antarctica. The study covered all the 6 continents, you see, opening up the new research avenues for understanding how viruses live in the gut and bacteriophages that infect the gut bacteria affect the human health. So naturally, this question leads to what will have its implications on irritable bowel syndrome, that is IBS, and also the Crohn's disease. So people think that it is caused by some unknown virus. So again, what is what are the implications? Has the virus been discovered in this study or not? So we'll have to wait and watch. Next section is news from the last week. First is COVID-19 treatment and vaccine related updates. So first is treatments. We have only one approved, which is the Gilead Sciences remdesivir, no change, but we have 5 candidates at the phase 3 clinical trials. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals 2 antibody cocktail has cleared emergency authorization by the FDA. That is the news from the last month. Eli Lilly's antibody against the SARS-CoV-2 also got FDA emergency authorization from the last month. And Merck EIDD2801 mRNA that target the viral replication, that entered into the phase 3 clinical trial. That is the update from the last month. So for the vaccine, we have 5 candidates at phase 3 clinical trials and 4 for the phase 2 clinical trial, and there is no update. So here, this particular this one, Johnson & Johnson came in news because a large number of Johnson & Johnson's vials needs to be completely discarded because of the contamination with AstraZeneca. And AstraZeneca also came in news last month. So let us go to that news. So adjusted AstraZeneca data shows that COVID-19 vaccine is 76% effective. But the company, the Swedish giant, it's a Swedish company, AstraZeneca, they stick with the earlier report, which is 79%, which is unethical. They, instead of saying it is 76, which is the latest figure, they release the press report, which is going back in time, the earlier figure, which is 79. So there is where a lot of media backlash against this AstraZeneca. And of course, if you're into the social media, then you might see that there are lots and lots of media and social media stories that says that AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, Chadox and COV2, here in India, we call it as Covishield, that has got association with the blood clot, that leads to the blood clot in the brain, and don't take that vaccine. No, these are fake news. And has there been report? Yeah, it is there. 13 cases. This is what most authoritative, most authentic report from Germany. There were report of 13 blood clot cases, especially on cerebral blood clot cases. But remember, these 13 blood clot cases is out of 1.6 million doses. So it's not likelier than by chance alone. So it is just by chance. So people who are getting vaccinated are already at the higher risk. You see, youngsters are not prioritized for the vaccine vaccination, isn't it, all around the world. So, and more than that, the people who are going to go to get a vaccine, well, they might already having some pre-existing conditions. The clot risk is higher for them than, in such cases, like if you have an extremely high cholesterol level, then of course the blood clot is also higher, isn't it? Or prothrombin level, or I mean vitamin K. I mean, it's a tapestry of various conditions that lead to the blood clot, isn't it? So it's not like clear. That's 13 out of 1.6 million doesn't convince me. Neither the drug regulators, so AstraZeneca, those are all fake news. But yeah, 76% of 76, they said 79, which is ethically inappropriate. That is why this news came in picture. And here in India, well, fake news is everywhere. So as advertisement, gimmicks, and propaganda. During the early times of COVID-19 lockdown, in the curiosity, we have covered stories like, the bread, immune boosting bread, modern bread is advertising where our bread is immune boosters. And also even the bed mattress, immune boosting mattress, and now the Dabbur's advertisement with Akshay Kumar. And this advertisement says protection against COVID-19 with 2 spoons of Chyawanprash daily. See, friends, immune booster itself is a pseudoscience. There's nothing can boost your immunity except vaccine. Our Prime Minister is also saying to get it vaccinated, right? He himself got vaccinated. And please never fall for this immune booster. And boosting your immunity itself is not a good idea. That will lead to hyperimmune response. Like rheumatoid arthritis or rheumatic fever. All these are because of boosting your immune. That's never a good idea. I covered this in the YouTube. Please check out immune boosting nonsense. That's one of my videos. Just check out. I have linked up in the short description of this video in the description section. Okay, you can check it out. And Eureka Forbes also, rigorously campaigning their propaganda product, Corona God powered PsychoCam. It can kill the coronavirus. That is what they claim. Group of scientists have said that such tall claims are completely non-scientific. The cost, look at that, 24,999, and if you make this kind of tall claims and people are rushing to get it, they don't even mind paying 25,000 if the company says that it can kill the COVID-19. By the way, the Forbes or Eureka Forbes in the US and Europe do not sell this PsychoCam. It's only here in India. So this is something you have to think about it. The authorities over there are really strict, with this kind of thing. So here in the Express report is that senior scientists question the device that claims to kill coronavirus in closed spaces, this PsychoCam, and a group of scientists from TIFR physics department and IIST and many premier institutes have questioned it, this claim by Eureka Forbes. So check out this news. And last month, we also saw a fantastic picture of M18. M18 is a spiral galaxy containing a massive number of stars. This galaxy itself contains trillions of stars, friends. Amazing galaxy, right? This picture is by Event Horizon Telescope. Event Horizon, by the way, the telescope came in news last year to reveal the first black hole picture. Yeah, so this is also galaxy center. Right here is a black hole. So this picture is also by the Event Horizon. By the way, it's not one telescope. Event Horizon is an array of 8 telescopes, including South Pole Telescope, which is a radio telescope installation in South Pole, that is in Antarctica. So very interesting picture. School students in India discovered 18 new asteroids. I enjoyed reading this story. So this is part of the project of the internship at IASC. This is International Astronomical Society. So, a part of the project, they discovered 80 new asteroids. I love it. Citizen scientists, right? So citizen science, budding scientists, right? So this is a news in the India today. Humans have toolkit to produce a venom, finds study. So I actually checked up its original report. So it says that kallikrein protein is there in our saliva. So that itself is a toolkit, venom toolkit to produce the venom. You see, so it is a precursor for the venom. So it's something like that protein is very similar to the venom proteins by the snakes, you know. So these kallikreins are the proteins secreted by our saliva that digests other proteins. So of course we need to get it digested, right? As secreted in the saliva. So they are also the key part of many venoms in animal kingdom, you see. So that's very interesting discovery, kallikrein discovery that happened last month. Octopuses. So yeah, I heard of this octopus story that published last month through a Naked Scientist, you know, podcast. Yeah. So octopuses research yields insights into the evolution of sleep. So the latest study that says that these octopuses are really smart, and more than smart, they sleep, and more than that, they actually daydream. Fantastic. We covered daydreaming in this episode, you know. So they might be dreaming, and also they might be having the sleep cycles, you know. So this is the paper iScience, that is the journal name, cyclic alternation of quiet and active sleep states in octopuses, something like rapid eye movement, REM sleep, and non-REM sleep, the sleep cycles in human beings, you know. So that's really interesting. The paper is written by author from Brazil, and Naked Scientist interviewed them. So why not? Please listen to the latest episode of the Naked Scientist. Hindu reports another very interesting story. Arctic warming is causing heat waves in India. So the warming up of the Arctic is causing heat waves in India. It's very interesting study. A global level meteorological study like this is always fascinates me. And this is published by a group of scientists from Azim Premji University, Bangalore. They published that in a very prestigious journal of meteorology. It's called Quarterly Journal of Royal Meteorological Society from Britain. You know, very, very famous journal. Another very interesting planet-wide, transmission of the particle, which I, in early of this episode, the early part I indicated about this upcoming, it's coming up, right? So this news is published in the Wire Science is that important message, soot from India can make its way to Arctic and does. That's very interesting. That is by the Finnish Meteorological Institute in Helsinki. They combined with Seattle-based Washington State University. And this paper is also published in a famous meteorological journal that says that the soot from Indo-Gangetic Plain, there is North Indian Plain, the soot from the coal burning as well as soot from the agricultural crop residue burning can travel all the way to the Arctic. That's very, very important. Planet-wide circulation. I also covered this kind of planet-wide, migration of particles from the Sahara Desert all the way to Amazonian rainforest. Amazonian rainforest get most of its nutrients from Sahara Desert by this, this upper atmospheric planet-wide migration of particle covered in an earlier episode of the Curiosity. Coronavirus in India reports unique double mutant coronavirus variant. So coronavirus new variant has been reported in Maharashtra. So genome sequencing will lead to this kind of interesting mutant, right? Revelation of mutant. So this double mutant is E484Q and L452R. So how to interpret this? So this means that the position 484 of its amino acid sequence of the spike protein. Both these mutations are happening at spike protein. At 484th position, amino acid E has changed to amino acid Q in this mutation. And this one is at 452 position. Amino acid L has changed to amino acid R in this mutation. So this is how to, how to interpret this mutation names. Okay. So 4 Indian cosmonauts complete the training in Russia for Gaganyaan mission. By the way, Gaganyaan is ISRO's latest mission for manned spacecraft. So by the way, India has never ever went for this manned space missions, right, in its time. So Gaganyaan is now planning to be executed in the year of 2023. So that means 2 years down the line, 3 years, right? So 2023 is the Gaganyaan. So India, ISRO is combining with the Russian space agency for this mission. Very interesting. Gond community to drop the ancient cremation ritual to save trees. Very interesting story. I love this story. Many of these news reporters have reported this. This is I picked up this from the Monk Bay. By the way, Monk Bay is a very interesting environment themed website. You know, this is of course it's an Indian incarnation of the Monk Bay. I know the story. So this one is that Gond communities, of course, the tribes. You know, Gondwana, the name coming from Gond, the central India, Madhya Pradesh, and Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. So this community earlier they used to cremate their dead body. You see the funeral pyre. So, but the funerals needs a lot of firewood, right? So to save this firewood, the community, the Gond community decided, they unanimously decided that we are not going to cremate. We are going to, we are going to do the burial. Very interesting. See, this is how sustainability get mixed up with the rituals and traditions. You know, we need to change ourselves to become a lot more sustainable, right? Lot of appreciations to this community, Gond community. You did a great job, Gond community. So another very interesting news about the COVID-19, rather it's very alarming news, is the collapse of the Northern California kelp forest. So this, I heard about this story from Science Friday, NPR Science Friday, another fantastic podcast. Okay, so this is a picture from Punta Arena of the Northern California in way back in 2008. Now this is 2019, the latest picture. You can see that most of this kelp, which is nothing but brown seaweed, big brown kelp, you know, like this. This is brown kelp. The scientific name of this kelp is Nereocystis leucana. So Nereocystis populations have tremendously reduced now. So in 2019, nothing is left here. Almost 95% collapsed. And what is the reason for this collapse? Yeah, so UC Santa Cruz group revealed that the reason is this kind of purple creatures in underwater. These are nothing but sea urchin. So sea urchin eats all the seaweed. So there is an explosion of the sea urchin during this period. And why the sea urchin population are exploding? Because its natural predator, sea star is getting wasted. That means wasting syndrome is happening because of the climate change. So sea star gets infected and sea star die. And as sea star die, nothing can kill this sea urchin, and sea urchin population increased. And because sea urchin population increased, the kelp forestation dramatically decreased. So it is something like a dominoes effect, a chain reaction, So the climate change, friends, it's real, and it's causing a huge, tremendous amount of ramifications on the planet Earth. So finally, here is another story from our group. This is new species of red algae seen in the west and southeast Indian coast. So we found this called the algae from Kanyakumari. That is, it's a type location. Both of these algae from the Hypnea. Hypnea is a red algal genus. Hypnea indica and Hypnea bullata. That is the name that we decided for this algae. By the way, he is Pushpendra Kuntu, is my PhD student. So this algae, of course, this is a carrageenophyte. Carrageenan is a food addictive. You see, so that has got, that is really interesting, isn't it, for food industries? And also, we covered in this episode about this algae. So this algae, as this one is a red algae, can be added into fodder addictive. You add it into the fodder and feed the cow. Then while belching, yes, methane production will become significantly lesser. That is also interesting application for it. Coming to observances for this month, we can see that in April, for me, April is a month of Earth Day. 22nd of April is UN's Mother Earth Day. You see, this is my bullet journal. This is the month starting, you know, page of my April. So 4th April is International Day for Mine Awareness and Assistance in Mine Action. 5th is International Day for Consents. You know, it's a UN International Day for Consents. 12th is International Day for Human Space Flight. 21st is World Creativity and Innovation Day. 22nd is Earth Day, or Mother Earth Day to be more accurate. 24th is Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace Day. And 28th is Safety and Health at Work Day. So health and safety at workplace is really important, right? All these are the UN observations in the month of April. And coming to observances. So observances, by the way, it's a relatively quiet month, April, not much. But yeah, there are some events. 1st of April is New Moon. It's a new moon week to capture the galactic center of the Milky Way. So if you are interested to look at the Milky Way and its galactic center, where there is a black hole. So if you really want to see, or if you really want to take some nice, beautiful picture of Milky Way, this week is the best week for you, especially if you're, you know, if you're on higher latitudes, you know, near the poles, you see, near the you know, polar regions, then yeah, you can see this galaxy in a beautiful way. 17th is perhaps the most important. Sky watchers are looking for 17th of this month. Conjunction of the moon with moon and Mars, with occultation of Mars by the moon. So conjunction means two celestial bodies are coming together, and occultation means one coming on the top of other. At least we look like that. So you can see that this is a conjunction. And occultation, you see, this is the lunar craters, the lunar surface, and this is the Mars. So this happened. Okay, let me change the color of my light here. Light to warm. So Alex is running in behind. You know, it's time for me to sleep. So let's continue this talk. Yeah. Observances in the area. This is occultation of Mars by the moon. Occultation, I told you, occultation is one celestial body coming on the top of other. You can see that the lunar moon and the Mars. So the last one happened way back in last year in the month of December, I guess. So perhaps we might not be able to capture a picture of this high resolution unless you have an extremely good high-powered telescope, but still it's an event, you see. And 21st and 22nd is Lyrids meteor shower. So Lyrids is from, you know, from this Lyra, you know, this particular group of stars, Lyra, right? And it's coming from the radiant, which is a apparent source of the meteorites, right? So the constellation Lyra, just look towards the Lyra, then northeast if you're living in the northern hemisphere, like here in India, then you can see this meteor shower. And 27th is supermoon. This year we have only two supermoon. One, the first one is in the April, then the second is in the May. Bigger supermoon is in the May, right? Coming finally to the opportunities for this month, we have several opportunities. And by the way, just check out the description section and the Curiosity Show's website to see all the links of these opportunities. You know, so Taiwan program of the Corporation of Science and Technology. Deadline is given here. 1st April is the deadline. Indo-Italian joint call for proposals. ICSSR MOS Taiwan joint call for research proposals. 12 research grants for basic sciences. EMBO Young Investigators Program installation grants. The Siemens collaboration on Global Brain. The Common Fund for Commodity, you know, commodities. UNESCO Silk Road's Youth Research Grant. Collaborative Research Program, CRP, ICGB Research Grants, Canada-Italy Innovation Award 2021, Research Supplement to promote the diversity in science, the future of journalism, how immersive technology and artificial intelligence, Global Water Foundation Grants for Water Sanitation 2021, Pulitzer Center, Congo Basin Rainforest Journalism Fund 2021, Explorers Club Discovery Expedition grants. I'm going to apply for this year's Discovery Expedition grant. So if you're planning to go for expeditions, like for example Andaman and Nicobar Island or wherever you want to go, like for example Northeast or Western Ghats, apply for it. Fantastic grant. Women's economic empowerment in low carbon COVID-19 recovery. Kurita Overseas Research Grant 2021. MIT SOAR, the Trinity Challenge 2021. Tech Coalition Safe Online Research Fund. SIF's Young Social and Entrepreneurs YSC Global 2021. APF Net Call for Projects. Feminist Review Trust Grants Program. The Delegation for the External Action of Local Authorities. Minor Foundation for Major Challenges Grants Program. The US Agency for International Development, USAID, call for grants. Saving Lives in Birth in Low Resource Settings, IIIT Delhi Research Program, and many more, including Einstein Foundation Award, ACU Summer School, Fulbright Nehru Master Scholarship, Fulbright's Specialist Program, Einstein Fellowship, Victory Empowerment, Chapak Masters Program, AWLI Fellowship, US Embassy in Afghanistan, or an EPFL, fellowship program. All these programs, the deadline is in the month of April, so please do apply for it. And the call for the Mentex is already over, but still, because of the huge demand, I am going for a further extension of 2 more weeks. So if you still haven't applied, please go ahead and apply before 15th of this month for Mentex Spring Call and also Mentex Mentor Program. The call is open till 15th of this month. So stay tuned and enjoy a productive month. The whole April, be very productive for you. And I will see you all in the month of May. And if you really enjoyed this show, please click thumbs up and also share it in the group. So I'm really looking forward to reaching to this show to the right audience. Because we cover so many stories and I spend a considerable amount of my time on researching. And we are looking for the volunteers who can actively translate this show into the regional languages of India, right? So please stay tuned in this channel for further translations. And I will see you all in the month of May, until then, goodbye. And if you can, please take care of yourself. Of course, you have to take care of yourself. And if you can, please take care of someone else too. Goodbye and see you all soon in my next video. Bye-bye.